My evil sister called the CPS on me and put my child in danger because she wanted me to learn a lesson in empathy, so I filed charges. I have a son who is autistic and the light of my life. He is a very sweet and happy child. He's just nonverbal and has a lot of sensory issues and developmental delays. I have a cousin who didn't have the best upbringing. My cousin struggles a lot with drugs, and she isn't in the best living situation. We were all a little surprised and concerned when we found out last year that she was pregnant. She managed to clean herself up during the pregnancy, she and her boyfriend got their own place, and she was doing really well when the baby finally came. She had an adorable boy, but he had some health issues because of the drug use at the beginning of her pregnancy. I recently heard that my cousin relapsed. Because of this, she lost her job and they lost their housing. A few weeks ago, I was devastated when I heard that her child had been removed from her care after an anonymous tip to CPS. Whatever her faults, I know she loved that baby. The baby was placed with my cousin's grandparents. My dad was the one who told me about everything that was going on, and he mentioned that my sister was really upset because she and my cousin had always been close. I mentioned something about hoping that this is a wake-up call to her, and that maybe this is what she needed to get her life straight so she could get her son back. I didn't mean anything malicious when I said it. It was just something I hoped would happen. I do want the best for my cousin and her child. A week ago, I was home with my son, and there was a knock at my door. I answered the door, and there were two agents from CPS on my porch. I was shocked. They were very polite and introduced themselves and said they had received an anonymous tip that my son was in danger. I didn't feel comfortable letting them inside, but my son was standing right behind me and they could see him. From what I could tell, someone called them and reported that my child was in danger because I was on drugs, my husband was an alcoholic, we were living in squalor, and my child was being neglected. I informed them that I was not on drugs, there was no alcohol in the house, and I let them look into my home and see that it was clean. We talked for a while longer, and they could obviously see that my son was not being neglected. He was clean and clothed and happily eating a snack while I was talking to them. They deemed that this was clearly a false report and apologized for wasting my time. After they left my house, as you can imagine, I was livid. I called my dad to tell him what had happened, and he got really angry. He told me that he had a conversation with my sister a couple of weeks ago, and he had mentioned what I said about my cousin's situation. Apparently, she had gotten angry about what I said, and had made a snide remark about how I would have more sympathy if it happened to me. He hung up with me so he could call my sister. An hour later, he called me back and informed me that my sister had told him that she was the one to call CPS and file the false report because she thought I was the one who called them on my cousin. I wasn't. And she wanted me to learn a lesson in empathy. Both of my parents took my side and berated her and told her what she did was absolutely wrong. Not only was it an abuse of an already broken and backed up system, but it put my son in unnecessary danger as well. I tried calling my sister, but she wouldn't return my calls or texts. That was fine with me. I blocked her on everything and told my parents I was cutting her off. My dad agreed, but my mom said that was too harsh, that she was still my family no matter what she did. I told her that if my sister cared anything about me, she never would have done something like this to me, and that any family that would do this to me or my child was no family that I wanted to be around. I also said that she was lucky I didn't call the police and turn my sister in for making a false report. She said I'm being an asshole because yes, what my sister did was bad, but she doesn't deserve to lose part of her family because of it, and she certainly doesn't deserve to be turned into the police. Update. I did end up calling the police and speaking with the detective. He let me know that our state has laws protecting the anonymity of people who make calls into CPS for obvious reasons, but that I could still file a police report for defamation and a few other things against my sister just to have a paper trail. I also called the police department in my sister's town and spoke with a very nice officer who was very interested in my story. I filed a report with them as well. She told me that she would be sure that this matter was looked into. A few days ago, I got a call from my dad saying he had received a call from my sister and that she had been screaming and crying when he answered. Apparently, the police showed up at her job and arrested her for harassment, defamation, and knowingly submitting a false report to CPS. One of those charges is a civil matter, but the other two are misdemeanors in her state. When she didn't get any help from my dad, she called her husband. Apparently, he didn't know anything about any of this, and he refused to bail her out. She was released after 72 hours and given a court date. I was informed that I would be allowed to testify if I wanted to. You can bet I'll be driving up to tell the judge the whole story, and I'll be taking a mountain of evidence with me. Having my sister arrested was the last straw for my mother. She and I had it out again, and I just threw up my hands and said I was done. If she wants to take my sister's side, then I don't want her around my family anymore. She and my mom have both been cut off, and our lives are better for it.